My mom abandoned me at my dad's door after her engagement party, telling me I was part of her past. I found comfort in my grandparents. Now she's furious that I'm closer to them than to her. It felt as though my mother didn't want to be with me in the car right then and there, but I still wanted to talk to her. She seldom recognized my attempts to engage in conversation, even when I told her about my friends in school. My dad's house was soon in our grasp. I hadn't seen my father in a long time after starting a new family with his now wife, an office colleague. He had not supported me. Turning to face me, she parked the car and said that it was time for her to start over since she could no longer handle this. That also required me to move on from the past. She spoke without feeling at all. Before I had a chance to speak, I became frozen. My baggage was taken out of the trunk and placed on the sidewalk by her. After she got out of the car, equally as shocked as I was, her simple lack of concern for me also infuriated me. After several long minutes, my dad finally answered the door when I knocked. I heard the laughter and yelling of my half-siblings. His expression was quite telling. His surprise at seeing me left him less than pleased. Though I was obviously not welcome, he let me in. Being in my own father's house made me feel like an intruder. All I could think about was how much I wanted to have a mother like my half-sisters as she was eating a sandwich that her mother had made. I made the decision to contact my maternal grandparents because I was feeling lost and unloved. It was my hope that they would accept me because they had always been good to me. My grandmother was the first to answer the phone when I called. I was invited over by her. Upon reaching my grandparents' house, I was overcome by the overwhelming warmth and love. My sense of safety and belonging was restored, something I hadn't experienced in a long time, as they greeted me with open arms. Together, we spoke, laughed, and enjoyed each other's company for the following few days. On the other hand, I had encountered my mother's icy rejection. Just to make sure I really wanted to save this moment, I decided to share a photo of the two of us on Facebook. After feeling a little safer, the three of us were grinning in the living room for a simple picture. At the moment, it didn't really occur to me otherwise. I just wanted to share a brief yet happy moment, but it was an unexpected and quick response. Soon after viewing the photo, my mother gave me a call. Anger flared in her voice. I was accused by her of attempting to take her position and replace her in her parents' lives. She yelled over the phone, accusing me of turning her parents against her and asking how I could do this to her. Her response surprised me. She was accusing me of taking solace and support after she had hurt me. On one side, it seemed like she was chopping me in two. She refused to listen to my attempts to clarify that I wasn't attempting to take her place and that I simply wanted someone to support me. My feelings of confusion and hurt were heightened when she hung up. I find myself at a fork in the road. I'm unsure if I should stay with my grandparents, who appear to be concerned about me, or try to patch things up with my mother. I have conflicting feelings about my mom and want to mend our relationship, but I also fear getting wounded again. Thank you so much to my grandparents for their support. I feel like I belong here for the first time in a long time. Is it okay for me to try to make things right with my mother? Do my grandparents want me to stay with them? First update. I felt it was time to have a serious discussion about what happened. After giving this subject a lot of thought, though I knew it was essential for my recovery and for them to comprehend my circumstances, it was one of the toughest things I've ever had to do. They had shock and grief in their eyes as I told them the story. My mom had treated me horribly, and they were obviously unaware that things had become so terrible between us. They were heartbroken to hear about it, though they did not speak. Their expressions spoke a lot. They listened closely. There is someone who actually cares about me. It made me happy in addition to sad. I was made to know that my grandparents loved and looked out for me. They assured me that I would receive support for my schooling and advised me to concentrate on the things that really matter. They were quite clear that I belonged in a place where I felt safe and cherished, and that their home was my home. My sense of relief rushed over me as their support made me feel at home. We consulted with an attorney to go over my alternatives and make sure I had a secure home in which to complete my high school education without stress. We received all the information we required to proceed, including the prospect of my grandparents taking on the role of legal guardians from the extremely understanding lawyer. My folks had an explosive response when we brought this up to them. My grandparents were being accused of attempting to remove me from their care by my enraged parents, who were shouting and yelling with strong feelings present on both sides. The confrontation was fierce. On the other hand, my grandparents didn't waver. Using my recent instability and stress as evidence, they claimed that this was the best course of action for my overall health. They were also unwavering in the face of their intense disagreements. My mother ended up crying after a protracted and agonizing conversation. My grandmother was able to see that my grandparents' attempts to remove me were motivated by love and concern rather than resentment. It was with reluctance that she accepted the plan. The lawyer consultation was extensive. The legal procedures needed to give my grandparents guardianship were clarified by him. In spite of the length of time it took, my grandparents promised me they were determined to see this process through. The fact that my grandparents were prepared to go to such lengths to make sure I was okay made me feel genuinely appreciated and cared for. Following the meeting, I was overcome with relief and appreciation. The legal procedure was initiated, entailing the collection of relevant documentation, participation in court proceedings, and verification that all required documentation was in order. With poise and determination, my grandparents handled it. My sense of being an inconvenience or an unwelcome guest had disappeared. Rather than feeling unimportant, I felt loved. Both my academic success and general well-being were greatly impacted by the supportive atmosphere. My peers and professors commended me for my academic success as my grades rose. My grandpa and I had a closer relationship that grew stronger every day. We laughed, spoke, and shared stories for many evenings. They became my closest confidants, staunchest allies, and guardians. In addition to that, I was being guilt-tripped into returning by my mother, who began calling and texting me after a few months, claiming that I had betrayed her. She expressed her agony around me, emotionally manipulative as ever. Her texts made it obvious that she cared more about her feelings and reputation than she did for my welfare. She said something that hurt. Her toxic behavior was something I knew I had to defend myself from. After discussing her attempts to put me under pressure, I spoke with my grandparents, who reassured me that I should live in a caring and encouraging atmosphere. My mom's behaviors were not my responsibility, they assured me, and staying with them was not a bad decision on my part. All that has happened is still registering in my mind. Though the journey has been emotionally taxing, I can finally see the way ahead. My parents' separation from me may have influenced me, as I have felt abandoned and alone for a considerable amount of time. Every day I see parents coming to our school to pick up their kids, and I've longed for that affection and attention. At times, I fantasized about having a happy co-parenting relationship with my parents. I knew that this was the kind of love I was looking for. While I was with my grandparents, my future and education are my main priorities as I get through this difficult period. Although I am aware that there are still tough days ahead, I think I can overcome them with my grandparents' help and the generosity of everyone who has shown me support. Second update. Since my previous report, a lot has transpired. Demanding that I return home, my mother unexpectedly showed up at my grandparents' place. A loud, persistent tap on the door without even a hello caught my grandmother and me in the middle of a quiet afternoon in the kitchen. She got angry and started yelling at me to get my stuff together and go right away. If they didn't comply, she threatened to take legal action, accusing my grandparents of turning me against her. The wall seemed to be drawing closer as her allegations grew louder and more forceful. The altercation escalated quickly. The normally collected and unflappable grandparents firmly maintained their position. She threatened to have them arrested, screaming that they had no right to keep me there and that it was practically kidnapping. My grandparents held their cool in the face of the pandemonium. Coolly, they clarified that I wasn't being held against my will. I had decided to stay with them, reminding her that I needed stability and support and that everyone wanted the best for me. My grandfather attempted to reason with her, but my mother was in no mood to pay attention. I could tell that my grandparents were doing everything in their power to keep me safe. Even though it hurt to see my mom in such a condition, her attempt to push through my grandparents and into the house was the high point of the scenario. She was clearly shown that her behavior was wrong when my grandfather blocked her path with a gentle but forceful hand. He warned her that if she persisted, they would be forced to call the police. He requested that she leave. I believed my mother didn't want me to experience any happiness or affection at all during this entire process. She seemed to miss me, though I noticed. However, I feel like this is wishful thinking in light of what she said to me in the car. I need to know if my mother ever gave me any thought. Even though I can hear all the noises in the background, Mom gave off an angry glare while standing behind my grandparents. She turned to face me and yelled that we should repent. She also promised to return, leaving a thick hush behind her. She marched off. With that, my grandparents kept their word and reported the event to the police. After hearing our version of events, the officers collected statements from each of us. As my legal guardians, my grandparents had the right to protect me, and it demonstrated to us that my mom could not take me away by force. I want to mend my relationship with my mother, even though I'm devastated by what she did to me. For so long, I was well cared for by my mom. After my dad moved out to join his new family, I missed the weekends when we used to watch movies and eat ice cream. Of course, we used to hang out together, and I miss it. I yearn for my mother. I spoke to various acquaintances and conducted a great deal of online research before receiving a recommendation for improving my mom and I's relationship. We could go to therapy together. I asked her and expressed my desire for our family to be happy and for us to improve. Before long, I made an appointment with a therapist. Even if the procedure is still difficult, my therapist is guiding me as I learn to manage these challenging feelings, and I've established strict boundaries to safeguard my mental well-being. Occasionally, there would be fierce arguments. It was becoming evident how out of control the situation was getting. Having meals together is a great opportunity to get to know one another and share our lives. Therefore, that's one of the exercises we had to complete for our therapy. We all had dinner at my grandparents' house because they insisted on it. A content family, because of our tight relationship. I knew my mother wasn't happy with how things worked out for me when she began to make snide remarks. My mother's and my grandparents' disputes were frequent. My granny, feeling that things might grow worse, spoke to the cops. Following a thorough hearing of both accounts, the authorities asked my mother to leave the property. When the cops arrived with my grandparents, I sat down after they left, feeling relieved, but also emotionally spent. Although we anticipated that this altercation might not be the last, it strengthened our resolve to provide me with a happy and safe home. After her daughter did what she did, my grandma said she doesn't recognize her. My mother and I would both benefit from having a positive connection, but for now, I'm happy and content with my grandparents. I think there's a lot of baggage to sort through in light of everything that's transpired recently. Many times I feel neglected and undesired. I understand that receiving counseling could be beneficial. A life in which my history does not limit me is what I would like to live. I'm learning how to process my emotions and create more positive coping strategies through these sessions. I'm still a long way from understanding and mending, but every session helps. My loneliness decreases when I come across stories like these on the internet, but the amount of suffering they had to endure saddens me. During this whole process, my grandparents have been nothing but helpful. In order for them to comprehend my situation and how they can support me, they join me for a few of my counseling sessions. My healing is aided by their devotion and affection. My daily sense of strength and control over my life has been increasing gradually. My attention is currently on my future and well-being. I'm planning my college career, taking classes seriously, and experimenting with new interests. My grandparents helped me research possible career routes and submit scholarship applications. I can now develop and bloom at their house without worrying about being uprooted once more. It has become a haven. Update 3. Since I last provided an update a few months ago, I wanted to let you know how things are progressing. It's been an entirely new experience to live with my grandparents, something that, until now, I had not realized how much I needed. I've experienced a significant transformation from a chaotic and unsettling setting to a secure and caring household. For the sake of ensuring my well-being, my grandparents have gone above and beyond. They have established a schedule that helps me decompress, including game nights, family dinners, and time for study. My sense of comfort and belonging has returned since they actually care about my well-being and emotional state. My grandparents' encouragement has helped me greatly reduce the worry and anxiety that used to hold me back. My academic performance has significantly improved since I was able to refocus. It's fantastic to be acknowledged for my hard work and dedication once again. Teachers have seen a change in me, along with getting back into extracurricular activities that I had to stop earlier. I've also been enjoying meeting new people with similar interests. I have made the difficult decision to cut down on our communication for the benefit of my mental health. Even though my mom has persisted in reaching out every week, my therapist facilitates a call with me to ensure that our conversations are amicable and helpful. We can converse without the emotional turbulence in this controlled environment. Even though these calls are difficult, during these sessions, we discuss our prior contacts to keep the discussion civil and concentrate on mending some sort of relationship. My therapist is there to assist and steer it. I catch flashes of the mother I knew before, but there are also tense moments. My expectations have to be managed because it's a gradual process. Acknowledging the duration of mending and trust, I am thankful every day for having my grandparents in my life. I feel secure, cherished, and loved at their home, which is a haven for me in ways I never would have imagined. This setting has helped me grow and heal. I have learned the genuine meaning of unconditional love and family from my grandparents' generosity and knowledge. Currently, I'm concentrating on developing myself, going back to school, and creating a future that fulfills my goals. Although I'm aware that there will still be difficulties, I feel prepared to overcome them because of my grandparents' encouragement and the progress I'm making in treatment. A brief update. I am happy to inform you that following our meeting with a family lawyer, my grandparents will now serve as my legal guardians. Knowing that my well-being is the first priority in a secure and compassionate household has been a huge source of peace and security. Since this transformation, a neighborhood bookshop is where I started part-time work. My experience with this job has been nothing short of amazing thus far. Meeting some really awesome folks who enjoy reading and studying has given me the chance to expand my social circle. I can contribute to my support and save money for future goals like going to college thanks to my job here, which has empowered me. My sense of freedom and responsibility has grown as a result of my work, which I value. With respect to our relationship, my mother has been trying to get back in touch. I have chosen to begin family therapy sessions with her. Despite the fact that this process has been traumatic and challenging, these are intensive sessions that can be overwhelming, cathartic, or both at the same time, providing us with guidance through the complex maze of our past. A therapist truly is a miracle worker. It seems like years of hurt and hatred are being peeled back layer by layer during each session. At times, we've both shed tears due to moments of frank honesty. My mother once sobbed and apologized for things I never thought she would admit. I recall it resembled the breaking of a dam. Every hurt and miscommunication erupted in torrents. Intense conversations have also occurred. The room felt like it was on fire during a session where we were all raising our voices and exchanging accusations with every suppressed feeling. But our therapist has been there for us, supporting us to stay the course even when it feels unfathomable and guiding us through these choppy waters. Our ability to resolve old wounds and miscommunications has greatly benefited from the therapy sessions. I never even realized I was holding on to some of the many buried emotions we've uncovered. Every session seems like we're maneuvering through an emotional minefield, cautiously avoiding past injuries that could still cause pain. It's been an extremely taxing procedure. I sometimes feel as though I am incapable of moving forward. There's no more hurting I can bear. Conversely, there are other times when one feels a great sense of freedom. Every difficult recollection we face and every misconception we clear up feels like a weight lifted off my shoulders. I haven't felt this sensation of liberation in years, so it's ironic that facing this suffering head-on may have this effect on certain days. After visiting my therapist, I feel emotionally bare and utterly exhausted, mentally and physically. It seems as though I've completed a marathon, my body is tense, and I can feel my bones getting tired. A peculiar and surprising sense of hope nonetheless resides alongside this tiredness. Small successes that we accomplish during each session give us hope. There have been moments when our advancements have felt like sunlight breaking through a cloudy sky, instances when we finally comprehend one another, where I can agree with my mother on an issue that has caused us to disagree for a very long time. I have the willpower to carry on since these moments are infrequent and precious. Although it has always been difficult for us, we are learning how to communicate more effectively. We're beginning to build the skills we need to listen to each other, but it's a difficult and sometimes painful process. We are gaining the ability to communicate our emotions and speak without passing judgment. Developing empathy, respect, and understanding is like picking up a new language. This path also involves a great deal of acknowledging each other's opinions and feelings. My mom's perspective has opened my eyes to the challenges and anxieties that have influenced her behavior, and I believe she is beginning to see things from my viewpoint as well. I should understand the effects of her behavior on me over time. Update 5. Greetings to all of you. Since my last post, a lot has happened in my life, and I wanted to share some highlights. My grandmother recently had surgery, so I had to be there to take care of her and my grandfather, which is why I was unable to update earlier. However, the past 2 weeks have been busy, and I have some great news to share. Now that my grandmother has returned home and is doing well, I recently earned honors at my graduation. After everything that occurred, I'm really proud to have accomplished my goal. In order to rejoice over this, a modest graduation celebration was thrown for me by my grandparents. For once in a long while, I felt truly joyful during the cozy, private get-together with close friends and family. It was an unforgettable day because of their love and dedication. It made me feel as though all the difficulties and hard work had been worthwhile. When I saw the joy in their eyes as they congratulated me, my mom and I still have a ways to go in our relationship, but I'm thankful for our growth together. Family therapy has continued, and there have been both successes and difficulties. We now have a controlled, encouraging, and structured space in therapy where we may talk about our problems. There are days when we make progress and gain a bit better understanding of one another. Give me optimism for our relationship. I see hope for our relationship to mend and grow stronger. These days, sometimes we feel like we're back in the same old routines and nothing has changed. I have learned to control my expectations and to recognize and appreciate even the little victories in my therapy. It's important to recognize boundaries and speak up for oneself, which is one of the most important things I've learned in therapy. For an extended while, I believed that I had to take whatever came my way. I now recognize the validity of my demands and feelings. I have confidence in this ability to help me in all aspects of my life. Throughout this journey, my grandparents have been my rock. I can now tackle these issues head-on because of their steadfast support. In an effort to learn more about my viewpoint and how they might continue to assist me, they have attended several of my therapy sessions. My part-time employment has also allowed me to continue working, which has greatly contributed to my sense of independence and accountability. Though difficult at times, juggling job, education, and personal development has been very fulfilling. Update 6. My ideal university has accepted me. My admission letter arrived, and it was an unbelievable moment. It seemed like the fruition of all my efforts and the encouragement I've received from everyone, particularly my grandparents. They have helped me so much with the application process, school visits, and establishing a college fund so that I won't have to worry about money while there. It has been amazing and heartwarming to see such generosity and faith in me. A flurry of activities has characterized the college preparatory phase. The transition has taken a great deal of planning, and my grandparents and I have logged many hours looking into housing alternatives and comprehending financial aid programs. To help me adjust to my new surroundings and get to know some of the instructors and fellow students, they even planned a last-minute trip for me to visit the school before the semester began. With all of the possibilities that lie ahead, this opportunity feels like a fresh start. There have been some encouraging changes in our relationship, but it is still complicated. I was surprised when she showed up for my graduation and was courteous and helpful the entire time. Our broken relationship took a minor but important step in the right direction when I saw her there, grinning and clapping as I crossed the stage. Although it didn't work right away, her gesture conveyed her effort and meant a lot to me. We both decided to gradually continue improving our connection to enhance our communication and address the underlying problems that have caused us so much suffering. The family therapy sessions have been really helpful. We may talk freely in a controlled and safe environment during each session, which is a step towards recovery. To reduce misunderstandings and promote empathy, the therapist has given us the tools and tactics to conduct our talks more productively. She knows that my education and well-being are my top priorities at the moment. It has been quite helpful to have this clarity while establishing boundaries to safeguard my academic aspirations and emotional well-being. Given the importance of my growth and my future objectives, she has chosen to respect it. We are focusing on building mutual trust and understanding each other's viewpoints, one step at a time. By doing things one step at a time, we can deal with complex problems without becoming overburdened. Little triumphs and times when we can listen without interjecting or speak freely without worrying about criticism are what it's all about. Our bond is strengthened by every pleasant interaction, no matter how small. More than I have in a long time, I feel optimistic and hopeful. As a solid foundation, it enables me to achieve my goals and desires. My grandparents have been my rock. They inspire me to be myself and pursue my objectives fearlessly. Since their home is a safe haven of love and security, my healing and progress have been firmly based on their steadfast love and support. They have given me confidence to take on the rigors of college and welcome this new phase of my life. Although I know I'm not alone in my fears, the thought of going to college is both exhilarating and intimidating. From packing necessities to giving me tips on how to navigate unfamiliar social settings, my grandparents are assisting me in any way they can. I'm starting this new journey with these teachings in tow. I'm prepared to take on any challenge and excited to follow the future because it seems so promising. The journey that has led me to this point has also been on my mind. My current self has been influenced by all of my experiences, from highs to lows, periods of uncertainty to triumph. I've gained insight into the significance of self-advocacy, connections that provide support and resilience. I will remember these lessons going forward. I'm feeling more hopeful and self-assured than ever as I move into this new chapter of my life, and I welcome your compassion and encouragement. Let us toast to fresh starts and a promising future.